Hi, hello. So in this video we are going to try to create a view component from scratch. I'm going to show I'm creating it. So in the previous videos we saw that we have for one view component different files and at least a module to declare the module, design directive for the view designer, and directive for the runtime, as well as a config to declare the configuration for view component. So I'm going to show how you can create one from scratch. And so basically what I'm doing is I am going to use an existing view component as a template. So here I will create another one named testvc. So I'm creating a folder under view components. I'm just getting files from another view component. And of course, my view component will be named testvc. So the first thing I'm doing at this step is I'm going to rename all my files to pull the right name. So this way I'm not going to have a conflict with other view components. So one thing that is very important is you can have a conflict with HTML files. So the good practice is to have your bundle name, complete bundle name, so your developer ID and your application name. So this way you have less chance to have a conflict with other developers. So here, testvc, testvc design, module, and the directive. So this is the first step, renaming the files. Then I'm going to generate my module. So I'm going to call it, this is just test. So my name, my view component name will be testvc. I don't really need that, those two dependencies for my example. That will be very simple, so I'm just doing that. At this point, what I'm doing is I need to declare my new view component to the other ones. I need to add them. So inside bx module, I'm adding it to the list. And same with xmodule.js. So at this point, I'm pretty much ready to begin my configuration. So what I want to do with this test view component is very simple. I want to have one input parameter, and I want to have one input and one output parameter. So this is just test view component. It will be in a group sample library. The icon, well, I'm going to use one of the view component I presented before. CSS. So, do I have anything with test? No. Demo. Okay. Skull. No. Word. Okay. Good enough. Who cares? Okay. So my icon will be word square. Here, this is a type, so this will be my directive name. So I need to be careful with testvc. And design type will be the directive for the design. So inside view designer. The bundle ID is the same because it's the same application. And from the properties, this one will be an input parameters. So config is true because it's an input parameter. It will be required, and I just want one output parameter. So is config false, is property true. And of course you will not be required. So here you have one input parameter and one output parameter. So now what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the view, on the directives that will be displayed on the view designer. So design directive, the HTML, and the design directive, the JS. So here I will just, this is a test view component, and for the directive I just need to change, of course, the module name, and I need also, this one needs to match the design type here, test VC design. So I have to replace this one by this one, and of course I have to get the right path to this HTML file. Oops. Okay, so my design directive is ready. So now I can focus on the rest, and the rest being the directive. So I need to modify this. So in the directive, it's what is stored in type, comme example sample library test VC, comme example sample library test VC. So I need also to change the path to the design, not the design, but the directive HTML. And here I should be fine for the first round of configuration. So all my files should be ready by now. And so the next step is the logic in itself. So what I want to have, so I have one input parameter, one output parameter. So I just want to get my input parameter, modify something, and broadcast the output parameter for the overview component. So here in this object, RX configuration, like I mentioned before, it's the data sent to the view component. So inside properties by name, I will have my input parameter. So here I will just do $scope dot input parameter display input parameter equals config dot input parameter, and on init that will be pretty much all. What am I going to do? So I'm going to build right now the output parameter. So display. Of course here you can use whatever variable you want. Here it's important. Plus hello world. So I don't need this one, which was a resource to get associated data. I'm going to remove everything. I don't need a stopwatch because I don't need to monitor when the input parameter changes. So actually I don't even need the init function either. Okay. So now I got my output parameter, so I need to broadcast that my value has been modified. So if you remember in my previous videos, we need to use an event manager for that. So we are going to another example, and I'm going to steal some code. So I need RX event view manager. I'm going to declare my event manager, and I'm going to display my value. So here, property change for one output parameter, And so I'm saying that the output parameter has been changed with this value. And we should be fine. So now we need to modify the directive HTML to display something. So so we're going to do just h3, and we are going to display display input parameter, display output parameter. And that's pretty much the only thing we want to do right now. So let's see if it's working. Let's quickly see if we didn't miss anything. So at this point, what I'm doing is that I'm checking that I've put the new module name everywhere, that my directive, the path are correct. This is basically the errors when you copy paste code like that. That will happen a lot. So view component does test VC, test VC, test VC, test VC. Sample library test VC design, test VC design, test VC. Sample library test VC, test VC, test VC directive. And well, we should be okay. So let's deploy the application. And at this point, you have to pray. So let's see. So now my application has been deployed successfully. So let's see if my code is working. So I'm just going to create a view to test my view component. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to check in my sample library component if I can see my view component. So it was a word icon and I cannot see it. So at this point, what you want to do is force refresh your web browser. So Control F5, for example, because we have a caching system in place. So Control F5 is going to force a refresh. And let's see if I can find it and I can see my new view component. So on the design, I have my input parameter. I have my design directive.html. And so let's see. Here I'm going to test the value. I'm going to put a record editor in create mode, dummy. I just want to display description. And why do I do that is because inside the description field, I want to use a value coming back from the view component, which is output parameter. So I'm saving. I'm going to preview it. And if everything works, I should have my display input parameter here, display output parameter here, and I have got my value, test value. This is my input parameter with the right value. So what did work is I get my input parameter, I append some text, and inside display output parameter, I stored the output parameter value and I broadcasted it. So this way, inside description, I would have the value from output parameter. So what didn't work is, of course, I have here display input parameter, display output parameter, because you did not tell me that here, of course, I did not use the curly brackets to display the value. So let's change that. And well, I don't really want to redeploy my application at this point. So I'm going to try to use Grunt that I show you in the previous videos. So to debug and change my application to be sure, but well, because I'm not really a very good developer, obviously. So I might have to do a lot of modification. So well, I don't even know how to copy paste apparently. Copy. Thank you. So, developer. And here I don't have my view component, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create in the shell, I'm going to add my example quickly. Test view component. I want to launch a view, and I want to my view component test. So I refresh. I have my new item, and you can see here I've got my text and the value, output parameter text and the value. So as we saw in Grunt, if I change something in the source code, so here if I do something like that, output parameter, I save, it should refresh, and it should see the new values without having to redeploy my application. So it was a good opportunity to show you that when I develop, I often do some crazy mistakes, and I'm using Grunt actually a lot. So this was a video to present you how to create very quickly a view component. So the idea is that don't create your files from scratch. Just use an existing view component and just, well, use it as a template. So I know that, for example, the Angular team proposed in their CLI the possibility to create components, and that's very cool. And I really hope that at BMC we are going to do something like that to help you create a template or skeleton of an action or view component, because I think that it would actually save a lot of time. So anyway, this was how to create a view component. As you see, it's not very hard, it doesn't take a lot of time. So well, that's all for this video.